What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Week 13 NFL Power Rankings show. I feel like the fog of war is starting to disperse a little bit. We're starting to get a much better feeling for the majority of these teams and where they stand as we start to think about playoffs a little bit. So really looking forward to this one. If you could do me a huge favor, please do hit that like button down below. It really does help me out. It's a free and easy way to support my channel in a meaningful way. Just takes a second. I really appreciate it. And let's go ahead and get started. So starting at the bottom, one team alone here in the Bryce Young watch tier here. It's the Houston Texans. They changed quarterbacks. Nothing changed really at all, though. And, you know, unless Alabama makes some big surprising appearance in the college football playoffs, Bryce Young can set his attention towards finding real estate in the Houston area. Now, I do have a tier gap up into our pit of despair tier this week, and that's going to start with the Chicago Bears at 31, dropping down 3 spots this week. And I do think without Justin Fields, they might actually have a case to be a worse team than the Houston Texans. Worst defense in the NFL for sure. And with Trevor Siemian looking like one of the worst offenses in the NFL last week. But we don't really know if and when Justin Fields will be back, and we know Fields, when he's out there, can run around, make a lot of stuff happen, and put up some points against any defense. So that's really the only hold on this tier gap is the Justin Fields factor. But yeah, this team stinks. Let's move on to the next team, talking about stinkiness. The Denver Broncos dropping down 3 here. I'm just done with this team, man, and I would like to think that they're done with Nathaniel Hackett at this point. This has been a complete embarrassment. I saw today that their average points per game is the lowest since 2001 with Russell Wilson at quarterback. Unbelievable. What a disaster. And they got to give their pick to Seattle just to add insult to injury. And then talk about giving first-round picks away to other teams into the top 5. The LA Rams, who are just, to say they're a shell of themselves is like not even doing this justice. They won the Super Bowl last year, and thank God they did, but this window has collapsed shut. The horn has fallen off the ram and is now decaying on the side of a mountain at this point. This team is terrible. They don't have their quarterback. They are going nowhere fast. Number 28, the Indianapolis Colts put up a fight against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's about all I can say about this team. Matt Ryan and the offensive line really regressed back to that overly concerning version of themselves that we saw earlier on in the season. Felt like they had maybe put that behind them a little bit. Nope. Struggled to push the ball downfield in this game, and that was enough for them to lose against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I don't think are all that good. Then we have the Carolina Panthers at number 27. Fascinating team, man, this year. They have had some really exciting weeks. They've had some extremely disappointing weeks. This was one of the exciting ones. We know they have individual defensive players capable of putting together a good defensive performance for the team. But they've also had these random, like, big quarterback days. They had the PJ Walker day, and now Sam Darnold comes in and looks really good. Now, I'm not going to say it's impossible in a year where we've seen guys like Geno Smith turn things around. I'm not going to say it's impossible for Sam Darnold to have figured things out. He took care of the ball. He made some beautiful throws in this game. It was on like 20 attempts. We'll see. Not going to hold my Sam Darnold flag up and tell you he's going to be the future of the Carolina Panthers, but fun to see nonetheless. The NFC South is completely wide open, so they're not even out of the playoffs, which is just crazy. But they're not a consistently good football team, at least. And they've many weeks been a bad football team. So they're a weird team. They are going to climb up 4 spots, though. They are very much alive. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 26. Kind of talked about this happening a few weeks ago, getting TJ Watt back, Kenny Pickett getting more and more comfortable. He actually looks solid for what it's worth. Mike Tomlin football teams just aren't going to roll over and die. So they're playing better week by week. I don't hate what the Pittsburgh Steelers have going on right now, but still a team that lacks explosiveness and has a lot of holes on that defense as well. But now we have a tier gap up, and this is into our 3rd tier here. One of my favorite names for a tier we've ever had on this channel. This is a Schrodinger's Box of Cats tier. And just a brief tangent into a little piece of history here. Erwin Schrodinger was an Austrian physicist who came up with a theory for quantum physics about a theoretical cat in a box. And the idea is that there is this little device that may or may not kill the cat while it's inside the box, 50-50 chance. And before you open the box, the cat theoretically is either alive or dead. But the theory goes that actually he's half dead, half alive. So all of the teams in this tier have a little bit of life some way or another, but they're also like half dead one way or another. Love this tier name. But before we get into this rather large tier here that's going to include 9 teams, I want to tell you guys about my new friends at Underdog Fantasy. I'm sure you guys have all seen the screenshots of these pick'em contests. Well, that's Underdog Fantasy, where you are picking anywhere from 2 to 5 players with player props, over under receiving yards, fantasy points, interceptions, field goals made, you name it. And these have massive payouts. We're talking about up to 20-1 odds. I've started playing fantasy, Underdog Fantasy 2 weeks ago, and I love it, man. It has gotten me back into daily fantasy. You can just put these lineups together 20-30 minutes before the game, put a couple bucks on it, and it just completely increases your interest in these football games. There's sometimes bad primetime games that you want interest in. Well, Underdog Fantasy really gets you into the action, man, and the payouts are worth the small amount of time and effort and money that it takes to do these lineups. So I've really enjoyed it. I know you guys are too. And now, if you use promo code TFG when you sign up, they will match your first deposit up to $100, and you'll support my channel in the process. So that is promo code TFG at Underdog Fantasy. But let's open Schrodinger's box, and in the coming weeks, we'll find out which of these teams are dead, which of these teams are alive. But that's going to start with the New Orleans Saints, who have just been very week to week. You know, this week, the offense completely, pissed themselves. And the defense showed up against the Niners. They ran around, they made plays, they tackled well. But yeah, Andy Dalton unable to really get the ball into the end zone this week. So they are not dead. They play the Tampa Bay Bucs this week. They can get into that first place conversation with a win there against the Bucs. But the week-to-week consistency has been pretty rough for the Saints. And then the Atlanta Falcons, talk about a lack of week-to-week consistency, right? Like, gosh, this team is so unpredictable. Any given drive, any given game, any given week, I mean, they continue to do fun stuff offensively. You get a little play-action leak touchdown. You get a little fake screen that pops Olamide Zaccheaus open. It's all these little twists and turns every week for this offense, trying to get the most out of an anemic passing game, really. They run the ball well and lack defensive talent entirely. Right there at the end against Washington, really tough team to predict on a weekly basis. Definitely a competitive football team. And again, in the mix in that terrible NFC South. And then the Las Vegas Raiders. That meme of the hand breaking out of the grave, that is the Raiders offense that has been one of the better offenses in the league over the last couple weeks. Josh Jacobs, just uncatchable, untackleable. He has been spectacular. Derek Carr, fine in this game. Did throw, a couple interceptions. But, hey, this offense can move the ball, but this defense stinks. Are they going to be a legitimate threat consistently against great teams? No, probably not. But they've figured some stuff out, and certainly to the point where Josh McDaniels, you feel a little bit better, I think, about his design of the offense. They've actually had some pretty cool play designs these last couple weeks. So things are getting a little bit better for the Raiders. Winning cures all wounds, even if they're not really in the playoff picture. Then the Arizona Cardinals really struggling to buy a win lately, right there in this game, in control of this game for the majority of it against the Chargers. Good to get Kyler Murray back and him running around making some spectacular plays. DeAndre Hopkins special again. Honestly, the defense does some nice stuff, even if they have some porous spots on it. This is not a bad football team, but gosh, they just can't really close games this year at all. And I think that does come back to coaching and mental toughness that have plagued this team for a long time. Then we have at number 21, the New York Giants. Talked about this last week. I think this team is going to be running out of magic here. Their schedule is getting really tough. The offense does not have the horses, man. The offensive line, the run game has struggled lately. Saquon has not been as special as he was in the first half of the year. Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones and banged up defensively. They do some nice stuff defensively, but it does hurt when you've got guys like, is it Rodney? No, not Rodney McLeod. It's Nick McLeod out of Notre Dame getting just worked against guys like CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. So, they're a well-coached team. They're going to muddy games up. They're going to keep games close, but I don't even know if the Giants are going to string together a couple wins to even make the playoffs at this point. They're just not a good football team right now. Then the Jacksonville Jaguars may have scared some Jets fans there. Jags picking up a big win against the Ravens. Trevor Lawrence gets his big moment, the comeback drive. Love to see it. Huge confidence boost for this team that I thought played a really consistent game of football. Defensively, it was a nice effort on all three levels. Did a good job against that Ravens run game. And then offensively, a good game plan to basically hang around. They didn't ask too much of Trevor Lawrence until they really needed him. And man, did he deliver when they needed him on that game-winning drive. So Jags fans might be a little disappointed that they're not moving up. Turns out a certain quarterback in Cleveland is returning, and I think that's going to be big for the power ranking of the Cleveland Browns. So that's why the Jags aren't really moving here. The other thing is I've defended the Jags. People have said they've been too high. This team sucks. I'm like, no, they're right in there. They've got a lot of talent on that team. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is pretty good. Turns out they're capable of beating a team like the Baltimore Ravens. So I think that's the beauty of these power rankings, is not just looking at wins and losses, trying to evaluate how good is a team truly. I've defended the Jags. They get a big win, but not going to result in any movement this week in the power rankings. My opinion on them hasn't changed too much, other than I'm glad to see Trevor Lawrence get that confidence boost. And then we have the Green Bay Packers at 19, dropping down 2 spots this week. For what it's worth, they did keep it entertaining, and the offense really over the last few weeks has truly woken up ever since Christian Watson burst onto the scene. The play calling's been better offensively, the line's been better, the run game's been great. The offense is more than functional at this point. But my goodness, this Packers defense was supposed to be the best Packers defense in a long time, maybe since they won a Super Bowl. And Joe Barry took that dream, crumpled it up into a million little pieces, and shoved one of those pieces up each individual Packers fan's ass this season. What an embarrassing night against the Philadelphia Eagles after an embarrassing primetime defensive performance last week and an embarrassing season all around. And what's inexcusable is it's just more of the same. It's using light packages repeatedly, despite the fact that teams are running all over them. It's playing off coverage on third downs. It's ineffective blitz designs that get no pressure. I cannot stress enough how poorly coached, how poorly designed this defense has been, and that's not even factoring in the fact that he's doing a horrible job putting these individual players in systematic fits that make sense for their skill sets. Joe Barry was not highly qualified before the Packers hired him and has completely botched this season for the Green Bay Packers. And keeping him in the building at this point for Green Bay, to not leave him in Philadelphia, is beyond reason. It is organizational malpractice. And now we're at the point where I have to question if Matt LaFleur, who's had a lot of success in this league, is even a good football coach, because he did this last year, standing by his buddy, his special teams coordinator, now doing the same thing with Joe Barry, with one of the most brain-dead quotes about this situation today, saying that if he felt there was a need for change to the defensive play calling, he would make it. Well, if you're an NFL head coach, I genuinely do not know if you are watching the same game, because how can you not feel like this defense needs a change? I cannot believe it. And welcome to the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love. What a fitting entrance potentially to a future in Green Bay where he's playing great. He's trying to lead a comeback and the defense can't make a stop. that's going to be your career in Green Bay, Jordan Love, unless they make some serious organizational changes. So that is this week's Green Bay Packers rant. Still a competitive football team, but at this point, it's mostly just the offense. Then the Detroit Lions, sticking in the NFC North with the 18th spot here. Man, they were so close. So close to that really statement win against the Buffalo Bills. This team has really put a lot together. The defense has been much better. They did their best against Josh Allen and the Bills. That is easier said than done. It's far from a great defense, but much better than they were to start the year. And offensively, Goff, not too bad in this game. They got a bunch of playmakers. The play calling's good. The Lions are just like a good football team at this point. I love what they're doing. No one's going to want to play them right now. I'm not taking them serious as like going on a deep run and like making a playoff appearance here, but I mean, they almost beat the Bills. It took a dramatic last-ditch effort to beat Detroit. So, yeah, this team is real. Let's move on to the Cleveland Browns. Getting the Predator back at quarterback. Perfect nickname, in my opinion. Going to be going with that. We'll see. Jacoby Brissett has not been the problem. This defense for the majority of this season has been the reason they've lost a lot of games. But, getting a quarterback of that caliber, theoretically, back into the mix here after a win against the Bucs that I'm not going to say saved their season, but gave their season life. Really coming back at the end of that game. Jacoby bringing him back. Big drive. David Njoku, huge touchdown catch. So defense playing better last week. This is a very scary football team moving forward now with Deshaun Watson. From a playoff standings perspective, probably a little bit too little, too late. But like I said, I think this is a justified jump getting a quarterback like that back, and we'll see where it goes moving forward. All right, we've got a new tier as we climb into the top half of the rankings. These are going to be my unserious contenders, teams in good position to be playoff teams, but teams with a notable lack of Super Bowl upside, in my opinion. Before we open up this tier, though, I do want to let you guys know that the official store of that franchise guy is open for business. You can see the TFG hoodie here. Love this thing. Super soft underneath. And now we have a special edition size matters not t-shirt, sweatshirt, coffee mug option. It is a NFL Star Wars hybrid of one of my favorite short quarterbacks in the NFL. I think you guys are going to love this concept here. If you want to check this out, go to thatfranchisestore.com. You can rep the brand, support the brand. Go check it out. All right, let's open up the unserious contenders tier with the Washington Commanders, taking the Atlanta Falcons down to the wire, literally at the goal line, a tipped ball, interception, Kendall Fuller, a nice play to go and retrieve that thing and put this game away. But I don't see a huge upside with this team. Taylor Heineke gave you the full Taylor Heineke experience this week, some high-end stuff, some really low-end stuff, and it resulted in about a 20-point offensive performance. I will say this defense really playing well for Ron Rivera, who has saved his job at this point. And at some point, Chase Young's going to be back. We've been saying that for like a month now. Didn't see him this week. So theoretically, that would increase the upside of this defense even more. But yeah, they're a good football team. They're not a great football team. Do I see this team winning a Super Bowl? No, absolutely not. But in a great position now to finish strong and get a playoff spot. The Seattle Seahawks are definitely trending downwards. They've lost 2 straight, and I would say the defensive woes, really just the lack of overall depth and talent on this defense are starting to show much more. Lack of a pass rush and a lack of ability to make big plays with that defense, unless it's Tariq Woolen getting an interception, honestly. So that's a big problem. Offensively, they continue to roll, though. Kenneth Walker, awesome. Geno, moving the ball again this week. So I still think this is a playoff caliber team, and they've been such a pleasant surprise, but they've definitely fallen off a little bit after losing to the Raiders this week. Then we have, by the way, did y'all see the play where the Seahawks took the 12th man interpretation to the next level by having a sideline defender run onto the field after an interception? Oh my God, I can't believe the refs. I mean, I guess I can believe the refs didn't see that, but I'm curious if there's going to be like discipline about that or anything, like a player suspension or something, because that is just unheard of. Hilarious. Didn't really impact the play too much, but man, crazy. Okay, the team that the Seahawks lost to last week in Munich are going to rank 14th here. The Tampa Bay Bucs. Felt like that win against Seattle was going to be a galvanizing force for this team, and it was really just straight back to their previous form, honestly. The defense is good here in Tampa. But they don't really have that X factor on that defense to take over any game, which just kind of leaves them hanging in the middle. And offensively, they have really struggled to string together 4 straight quarters of good offense, and it was more of the same here. It's hard to put a finger on exactly what it is. I think it's a little bit of play calling. Honestly, in this game, felt like the first time Tom Brady really let them down. Missed a lot of throws late in this game. He just did. There's no way around it. They haven't been able to get on the same page with Mike Evans and Tom Brady. The offensive line, of course, the lack of a dominant run game. It's just a very average offense, a very average to above average defense at this point. They're probably still going to win the NFC South, but, you know, if it wasn't number 12 wearing the jersey there, I don't think anybody sees this as a team that could really go on a Super Bowl run. You know, that guy, Tom Brady, could he get hot and go on a Super Bowl run? Yeah, of course he could, but it just seems incredibly improbable at this point for this team that just has way too many issues. And by the way, Tristan Wirfs gets, unfortunately, a really bad high ankle sprain. He's going to miss maybe a month here. And they got some big divisional games coming up, so I'm not even convinced this team makes the playoffs. A very weird team and a weird season for the Bucs. Okay, the New York Jets at 13. Don't have too much to take away from that game. They took care of business against the Bears in a way that I think we all expected. This defense is dominant. And good to see at least Mike White come out and look like a professional quarterback. That's all I really have to say about him. He wasn't good. He wasn't, I mean, he was closer to good than he was like average, I get. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was fine. I'm not ready to jump on the Mike White train. He got the offense moving. The defense took care of business. I like where this team sits right now. Love this defense. Love Garrett Wilson. My take that the Jags should have taken him number 1 over Trayvon Walker is starting to look better and better by the week. But, yeah, I mean, they're moving up 3 spots. I'm not trying to talk down on the Jets, but that was a pretty bad version of the Bears that they beat on Sunday. Then we have the New England Patriots also going to climb up 2 spots. You know, I look at how they're playing football, and I walked away impressed. Yes, they lost on Thursday Night Football. Fun game to be at, though, and you know what? Yeah, you lost, but Mac Jones looked great. He really did. Pushing the ball downfield, moving in the pocket, really a surgeon back there. Gotta be impressed with that. I mean, this offense kind of works, man. You got Aguilar in the slot, and Devontae Parker making plays, getting Hunter Henry going. Ramondre Stevenson's awesome. We know this Patriots defense is going to play better than that most weeks. So I kind of like the Patriots, man. I don't think they're a Super Bowl caliber team, but I think they're going to give the Bills a fit on Thursday night here. So I do think this is a good football team, and they're actually going to move up. They got some tough breaks at the end of that game, too. They really did. The touchdown, I was really surprised they overturned that, the Hunter Henry touchdown. There was another play like right after that on 3rd down on their next drive, I think, where they were mauling Hunter Henry on a 3rd down on a corner route. They didn't call the flag. They allow a kick return touchdown. A lot of weird stuff happened to the Patriots in that game. They had a big roughing the punter call that kept the Vikings drive alive. A lot of big mistakes for the Patriots late in that game. Overall, projecting this team forward, I actually feel a little bit better about the Patriots because they move the ball, unlike the week before. Okay, we do have a tier gap up now, though, to, I would say, long shot Super Bowl teams. Teams that do 1 or 2 things really freaking well, that if they can ride that thin margin for error and catch a couple breaks, they could potentially win a Super Bowl. But it's, again, a thin margin for error and going to be tough. And that tier is going to start off with the LA Chargers. Really just comes down to Justin Herbert. Like, can he get hot and go on a playoff run? I think so. I know we haven't seen that yet, but I was impressed by him in this game against the Cardinals. They definitely don't win that game without him. Just was kind of a surgeon in that game. I know the average depth of target was really low. It wasn't a perfect game from him, but man, still made some big throws in that game and led the comeback. How's that for a social media quarterback, Emmanuel Acho? You're a social media analyst, dude. Everything you do is for clicks. It's unbelievable that comment came out of your mouth. The amount of hypocrisy there is just astounding. But yeah, Chargers, big win against the Cards. I will say I really appreciate their mental toughness to persevere through all these injuries, and it looks like they're in a prime position to get Justin Herbert into the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens continuing to reveal to me some of their warts offensively. I know Lamar made some big throws in this game. The big connection to Deshaun Jackson would be great if we could see that more consistently, but good to know it's in there. But just not a lot of explosiveness for this offense. Not that they were terrible there, and not that this was some major red flag of a performance. They blow this game late. They've done that multiple times this year. This is like the fourth or fifth game that they've just blown late, and another one where it was a fumble that invited the other team back into the game. So just a -1. My opinion on this team hasn't changed too much, but obviously losing to the Jags hurts a little bit. Then we have the Tennessee Titans moving up a spot this week after losing to the Bengals. And the Titans and Ravens aren't that far off of each other. They're going to win by running the ball, playing great defense, and getting some chunk plays offensively. The Ravens' chunk plays come a little bit differently than the Titans, but that's the gist of it. I mean, the Titans didn't make enough plays offensively to hold off Joe Burrow. They ruined their chance to get a chance to tie the game late by lining up over the long snapper, a really uncharacteristic mental mistake of this Titans team. But, defensively, this team's really impressive. Treylon Burks was great again this week, which is huge to open up this offense a little bit. So I like what we're seeing from the Titans. They're going to muddy things up, and they have some playmakers offensively. Derrick Henry, Burks, Chigokonkwo. Tannehill's not terrible. So, yeah, +1 for the Titans despite the loss. But now we get into my 6th tier, and these are real Super Bowl contending teams. And the top 8 here, not changing. I think we nailed this group from last week, and I don't think this is like me being stubborn and sticking to the guys. I think it's continued evidence that we ranked these guys correctly last week, if that makes sense. So we got the Bengals at 8. Joe Burrow, to me, is the best quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes in November. I'm still saying Josh Allen's better, but from the month of November, Joe Burrow, QB2. Excellent month of football. Does it without Jamar Chase. Taking care of the football. I know he had 2 interceptions against the Steelers. They were batted balls at the line of scrimmage. Those aren't on Joe Burrow. PFF not charting him with a turnover-worthy play in the month of November. He's been getting the ball out. He's been pushing the ball downfield a little bit, putting the ball in a position where guys like T. Higgins can make plays. He has been outstanding, using his legs when he needs to. That is why the Bengals are Super Bowl contenders, especially getting Jamar Chase back here against the Chiefs. Some problems, though. Offensive line still worries me. The cornerback position worries me. Some potential holes there for this team. But overall, no reason the Bengals couldn't go on another run like they did last year. Then the Minnesota Vikings at number 7. Another big win, taking care of the New England Patriots this week. Kirk Cousins, a big difference for him this year is when he's under pressure, he seems to have a lot more answers this year. And sure, sometimes that's, F it, Justin Jefferson's down there sometime and down there somewhere, and that's a part of it, but not most of the time. A lot of the time, it's finding those checkdowns in the right spots, using his legs a little bit, finding Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne. Him under pressure this year, he just has a more comfort, a higher comfort level within this offense that is, I think, elevating this group. And a big reason they're winning a lot more of these close games because those pressure moments haven't broken Kirk Cousins. Vikings staying put at 7. The Dolphins staying put at 6, annihilating the Houston Texans. Not a whole lot to add there. We haven't given anybody credit for beating the Texans this year, so not going to change for the Dolphins, but showing more of the same with that explosive passing game. The Niners at number 5. This defense, I'm telling you, man, they have the best, highest fear factor of any defense in the league. A shutdown performance against the Saints, staking their claim that the Niners might be back to having the best defense in the NFL with a healthy Nick Bosa. A little bit quieter offensive week. We know that there's the potential for that to happen, considering their offense is pretty one-dimensional. So if a team comes out with a good game plan to tackle these guys and take the short to intermediate away, that's, part of what comes with Jimmy Garoppolo and the design of their offense. But good to know that defense can carry when they need it, and they did. Then we got the Dallas Cowboys at 4, dominating the New York Giants in the second half. Offensively in the first half, Dak was not anywhere close to perfect. Defensively, some hiccups. So they're not a perfect team, but when they're clicking, they are extremely dangerous, especially now that they got Michael Gallup going. The run game's been awesome. They have answers for everything offensively. We know that defense can get after it and stake their own claim to be the best defense in the NFL. So the Cowboys, very much scary and Super Bowl contenders. And then the Philadelphia Eagles, some highs and lows. The defense continues to really struggle against the run, giving up 33 points to the Green Bay Packers this week. Far from a great defensive performance. But man, Jalen Hurts was awesome in this game with his feet, with his arm. Talk about a team that has answers for everything. They're going to look at how you're trying to play them, and they're going to attack that. And that's exactly what they did against Green Bay. Excellent execution. And then, you know what? We're gonna improv a little bit here. I said no one was changing in this tier. We're going to flip this. We're going to put the Eagles at 2 and the Bills at 2. The Bills at 3. The defenses, the injuries on defense are just piling up here, man. The Bills' defense does not have that fear factor right now. They lose Von Miller in this game. Who knows how long he's going to be out. The offense has been very good, but they have not been a consistently elite force over the last month. Josh Allen has been putting the ball in harm's way a lot more. So I don't think this is that invincible Bills team that they looked like in that week 4 mark, like the Super Bowl favorite that teams had, a lot of people had on them coming into the year. I would actually say the Eagles right now are a more complete, better football team than the Buffalo Bills. So we're going to move that. We're going to flip that here on the fly. +1 for the Eagles, -1 for the Bills. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, I guess I'm just going to leave them in a tier of their own at the top. I mean, this team is rolling right now. Patrick Mahomes running away with the MVP. The defense does enough. They have all these playmakers. I don't know how you don't look at the Chiefs as the best team in the NFL right now and Super Bowl favorites. So there you go. There are the Week 13 power rankings. Hope you guys enjoyed. Drop your comments down below where you agree, where you disagree. Again, use that promo code TFG on Underdog Fantasy. Check out thatfranchisestore.com. Make sure you're subbed up for more football content coming. We got a big studs and duds week this week, doing a player review on the NFC from November. So, lot to look forward to on the channel. Thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Peace out.